of the story sets the stage for a classic HFY. Humans fight where others fear narrative by immersing the reader in the environment of the Xylarian royal palace and establishing the stakes of the princess's injury. The palace itself is described in lavish, almost otherworldly detail, towering spires made of crystalline metal that catch sunlight and scatter it in jagged rainbows. This description serves multiple purposes. It conveys the alien nature of the setting, emphasizing how foreign and imposing the Xylarian society is, while also contrasting sharply with the vulnerability of the princess. The beauty of the palace highlights the severity of the moment. No amount of grandeur can mask the panic that grips the court. This sets up the tension that underpins the story. Princess Lythra's wound is the central plot catalyst in this part. Though not fatal in a purely medical sense, her injury represents far more than physical harm. In Xylarian culture, the royal bloodline is sacred and untouchable. Any harm that befalls a royal is considered a mark of misfortune or dishonor, potentially even a curse. This cultural belief immediately raises the stakes, because it creates a barrier of fear and superstition around her treatment. The story leverages this alien worldview to highlight human contrasts. Lythra the alien. Hesitation establishes the tension that humans are uniquely equipped to defy. The wounded princess is not just a patient. She is a symbol of status, superstition, and political power, making her injury a focal point of anxiety for the entire court. The reaction of the alien court is crucial for character development and setting the tone. The palace is filled with advisors, medics, and guards, yet all freeze in place, afraid to approach. Their fear is rooted in centuries of cultural conditioning. Superstition dictates that anyone who touches the princess in her vulnerable state will suffer misfortune. This collective hesitation reflects the rigid hierarchy, risk-averse mentality, and reliance on protocol that define the Xylarian species. By contrast, humans in HFY narratives are often shown as unbound by tradition, willing to act decisively in moments when others hesitate. Introducing the human medic, Dr. Elias Vance, at this point creates immediate contrast. He observes the chaos with calm focus, seeing only the practical problem, a sentient being in pain. Elias's character is defined through both action and implied backstory. The text notes that he has traveled light years from Earth, facing dangers in hostile worlds, yet nothing phases him as much as witnessing suffering. This not only establishes him as brave and competent, but also subtly foreshadows the extraordinary courage that will define later parts of the story. His human perspective is practical and morally driven. He doesn't fear curses or societal disapproval. This difference between humans and Xylarians is central to the HFY theme. Humans act out of moral clarity, courage, and practicality, rather than superstition or fear. When the queen commands someone to act, the court descends into chaos. Alien medics and advisors bicker over who is safe to touch the princess, highlighting their inability to act decisively. In contrast, Elias steps forward calmly, ignoring status, fear, or social convention. This is a defining moment. The other character's hesitation magnifies the bravery of the human, making his courage and competence almost legendary in comparison. The narrative emphasizes that all eyes follow him, filled with disbelief and horror. This reaction underlines how alien cultures often underestimate humans, reinforcing the HFY motif that humanity possesses qualities, courage, adaptability, decisiveness that other species do not recognize until confronted with them. Finally, Part 1 closes with Elias kneeling beside the princess and preparing to assess her wound. His calm determination signals that the story's central conflict is not merely physical healing, but overcoming fear, superstition, and alien prejudice. The tension in the hall, the frozen courtiers, the queen's anxious commands. The princess's shallow breathing creates a suspenseful setup that drives the narrative forward. By focusing on Elias's perspective, the story invites the reader to root for human ingenuity and courage, establishing the foundational HFY theme: when fear binds others, humanity acts, and that action defines the difference between life and death. chaos and order, despair and hope. In summary, Part 1 establishes the setting, stakes, cultural conflict, and HFY contrast between humans and aliens. The wounded princess is both a literal patient and a symbol of the challenge humans face in the galaxy. Ilyas's calm bravery against the backdrop of paralyzed alien observers immediately defines him as a uniquely human hero, setting the tone for the rest of the story and illustrating the central HFY idea: humans step forward when all others freeze. Of the story shifts the focus from the end setup of Part 1 into the critical moment where the human medic, Dr. Elias Vance, begins his work on Princess Lithora's wound. This part emphasizes the stark contrast between human action and alien hesitation, a central theme in HFY storytelling. While Part 1 established the stakes and cultural barriers, Part 2 demonstrates how human courage and skill operate in practice, turning moral clarity into tangible results. At the start of Part 2, the alien medics and courtiers are paralyzed by fear. Although they possess knowledge of anatomy and healing techniques, superstition and rigid adherence to protocol prevent them from acting. The text emphasizes that their species is both biologically complex and socially conditioned to avoid risk. Any attempt to touch the princess could have severe political and spiritual repercussions in Xylarian society. This hesitation illustrates a recurring HFY motif: advanced or experienced alien. Civilizations may be technically competent, but emotionally constrained, while humans act decisively when necessary. Their inability to act highlights the limitations of a society overly reliant on hierarchy, tradition, or fear of superstition. In stark contrast, Elias demonstrates calm focus and unwavering resolve. He approaches the princess with clear intent, assessing the wound with precision. Importantly, the narrative emphasizes that he relies on simplicity and instinct rather than elaborate tools or rituals. While the alien's approach is hindered by overcomplication and fear of error, the human medic's confidence is rooted in knowledge, experience, and the ethical imperative to act. His methodical, confident movements emphasize the HFY ideal that humans combine intelligence with courage, a combination that allows them to perform feats others avoid. Elias's interaction with the princess also illustrates the importance of human empathy. Unlike the alien medics, who focus strictly on procedure or fear potential consequences, Elias pays attention to the princess's emotional state. The story notes that he murmurs soothing words and holds her gently, creating a sense of trust that transcends language or species differences. This aspect is critical in HFY storytelling. Humans often succeed not merely through physical or technical skill, but through emotional intelligence, moral clarity, and the ability to inspire confidence in others. By calming the princess, Elias is able to work more effectively, demonstrating that human courage is both practical and relational. The story highlights the physical and technical aspects of Elias's work as well. He cleans the wound, disinfects it, and begins suturing with precision. The narrative emphasizes that he achieves this with minimal equipment and important detail that contrasts sharply with the alien medics, who possess far more elaborate technology but are paralyzed by indecision. This underscores another HFY trait: humans can adapt and improvise under pressure, often achieving superior results despite apparent limitations. It is not brute strength or advanced technology alone, but a combination of adaptability, skill, and fearless action that defines human effectiveness in this scenario. The reactions of the alien courtiers amplify the story's tension and highlight the HFY theme. As Elias works, whispers of disbelief and awe spread throughout the hall. Aliens question why he is not afraid of the curse or intimidated by the royal bloodline. These reactions serve a dual purpose. They reinforce the cultural stakes of the story and also underscore a recurring HFY narrative point that humans can exceed expectations in ways other species find incomprehensible. By calmly ignoring superstition and acting decisively, Elias challenges alien preconceptions about human fragility, courage, and competence. Part 2 also begins to explore the psychological impact of human behavior on other species. The princess, initially in pain and fearful, begins to respond positively to Elias's presence. Her physiological reaction, her skin glowing faintly, signals a reduction in stress, suggesting that humans can inspire trust and resilience, even in species conditioned for caution or fear. This moment foreshadows later shifts in the aliens' perceptions of humanity, demonstrating that courage and skill have both immediate practical effects and long-term societal implications. Finally, Part 2 solidifies the story's HFY core. Humans act when others hesitate, combining courage, skill, empathy, and moral clarity to achieve what seems impossible. Elise's calm, precise, and compassionate approach contrasts with the aliens' paralyzed indecision, creating a powerful narrative of human superiority in a specific domain, not through aggression or domination, but through the ability to act decisively under pressure. The tension, awe, and admiration emerging in the hall set the stage for the eventual recognition of human capability in the evolving. Respect the aliens will develop in subsequent. Serves as the story's pivotal moment, where the consequences of human courage and decisiveness become fully apparent. By this stage, Dr. Elias Vance has assessed and treated Princess Lithera's wound, and the narrative shifts focus to the reaction of the alien court. The central theme of this section is the awe and disbelief that humans inspire in alien civilizations when they act without fear, contrasting sharply with the paralyzed caution of the Xylarian species, the first element. To note in Part 3 is the complete silence that falls over the palace hall. In narrative terms, this silence functions as a dramatic punctuation mark. It allows the story to highlight the contrast between the humans' fearless action and the aliens' hesitation. The Xylarian medics, advisors, and guards had been frozen by superstition, afraid of the so-called curse attached to the princess's injury. By treating her successfully, Elias shatters the invisible barriers that had bound them in place. The silence is not merely absence of noise, it is a manifestation of collective astonishment. Every observer is forced to process an entirely new reality, a human, physically weaker by most conventional measures and socially insignificant in their hierarchy, has accomplished what hundreds of Xylarian specialists could not. Princess Lithera's reaction is equally significant. She had been frightened and in pain, conditioned by her culture to expect caution, ritual, or even avoidance from those around her. However, when Elias treats her with calm, measured precision, she experiences not only physical relief, but also emotional reassurance. Her trust in a human, a species often perceived as fragile and unworthy of respect, marks a profound psychological turning point. Her willingness to respond positively, even reaching out to touch. Elias demonstrates the narrative's emphasis on human empathy as part of the HFY motif. Humans are not merely brave in a martial or technological sense. They inspire confidence, calm, fear, and generate trust across species boundaries. This moment illustrates that human courage is multidimensional, encompassing both physical action and emotional intelligence. The reactions of the alien observers deepen the HFY theme. The court, which had relied heavily on ritual, superstition, and status, now finds these systems inadequate in explaining what they have witnessed. Whispers spread among the advisors and medics. Why does he not fear the curse? How can he touch her without consequence? He is unreal. This astonishment highlights a recurring element of HFY storytelling. The recognition of human exceptionalism by species who perceive themselves as more advanced or cautious. In essence, humans are depicted as an anomaly, biologically fragile by conventional standards, yet morally, intellectually, and psychologically capable in ways that surpass other species' expectations. By forcing the alien court to confront the limits of their own assumptions, the story underscores one of HFY's central messages. Human courage and capability are defined not by convention, but by action in critical moments. Part 3 also emphasizes the contrast between action and inaction. While the alien's hesitation had been rooted in fear of social or supernatural repercussions, Elias acts decisively because he is unbound by such considerations. He prioritizes immediate need over potential consequences, illustrating the human ability to navigate uncertainty with confidence. This juxtaposition reinforces a critical HFY theme. Humans can achieve the impossible because they act from moral clarity and necessity, rather than rigid adherence to fear or tradition. By highlighting the alien court's shock, the story amplifies this human quality, making it the focal point of admiration and narrative tension. Furthermore, the silence in the hall functions as a moment of narrative suspension, allowing the reader to absorb the significance of Elias's actions. In storytelling terms, this pause emphasizes that what has occurred is not merely medical competence. It is a challenge to centuries of alien assumptions about hierarchy, ritual, and capability. Elias's treatment is not only physically effective, but socially transformative. The court is confronted with the realization that the human's courage is not a fluke. It is a defining trait, one that has immediate and profound consequences for the Xylarian worldview. Finally, Part 3 establishes a key turning point for future narrative development. The awe and silence foreshadow the growing respect and eventual acceptance of human skill and bravery. Princess Lithera's trust and the court's astonishment set the stage for shifts in perception that will unfold in subsequent parts. By combining action, empathy, and moral clarity, Elias has not only saved a life but also begun to redefine the aliens. Its understanding of humanity of the story explores the consequences of the human medic's actions on the alien court, particularly how courage, skill, and moral clarity can challenge and ultimately transform established cultural norms. While the previous parts established the setting, the tension, and Elise's competence in treating the wounded princess, this part focuses on social dynamics, highlighting the contrast between human straightforwardness and alien tradition. It serves as the thematic bridge between human action and alien recognition, which is central to the HFY Humans Fight Where Others Fear genre. Following the dramatic silence of Part 3, the alien's initial awe begins to evolve into deeper reflection and cautious interaction. Courtiers, medics, and advisors are forced to reconcile centuries of rigid protocol and superstition with a new reality. A human, considered fragile and socially insignificant by Xylarian standards, has not only acted where they feared to tread, but has done so successfully. This confrontation with human capability challenges the very foundations of alien hierarchy. In Xylarian culture, respect is earned through status, longevity, and adherence to ritual. A stranger from another species stepping beyond these barriers disrupts societal expectations. This sets the stage for what Part 4 explores: the negotiation of respect in a system unprepared for human audacity. Elias himself remains calm and unassuming, a key factor in establishing his credibility and eventual respect. He does not demand reverence or perform acts of dominance. He simply treats the princess and interacts with the court with professionalism and humility. His behavior contrasts sharply with the alien expectation that respect must be formally earned through ceremony, loyalty, or birthright. By refusing to be intimidated or swayed by alien conventions, Elias demonstrates an HFY trait central to the story: humans rely on competence, courage, and moral clarity rather than tradition to earn trust and admiration. This approach is unsettling to the aliens, who cannot immediately categorize his actions within their social framework. The narrative emphasizes the queen's perspective in this part. Initially skeptical and stern, she watches Elias closely, evaluating both his skill and his disposition. She recognizes that he has treated her daughter with precision and care, without fear or hesitation, yet he has not followed any Xylarian ritual or protocol. This challenges her deeply ingrained assumptions about authority, status, and what constitutes courage. The story uses this interaction to illustrate that human strength is multidimensional. It combines physical capability, mental acuity, and ethical decision-making in ways that other species may not fully comprehend. The Queen's growing acknowledgement of Elias's foreshadows the eventual transformation of her respect and the broader perception of humans among her people. Meanwhile, the alien court begins to respond with cautious curiosity. Observers approach Elias with formal bows or verbal salutations, testing the limits of his respect for their hierarchy. These interactions are critical and highlighting how human behavior differs from alien expectations. Elias accepts their gestures politely, but without subservience or exaggerated deference, signaling that respect must be mutual and earned through action rather than ritual. This behavior is jarring to the Xylarians, who are accustomed to rigid hierarchies and ceremonial affirmation. Here, the story emphasizes an HFY theme. Humans inspire respect not by conforming to alien systems, but by acting decisively and consistently with their own principles. Part 4 also highlights the psychological and social impact of Elias's actions. By demonstrating courage and competence, he destabilizes fear-based social structures. The alien medics, who previously hesitated, now have a model of action to emulate. The advisors and guards begin to reconsider their assumptions about risk, competence, and the limitations of their own society. Elias's intervention shows that humans are capable of challenging entrenched norms, not through confrontation or dominance, but by demonstrating undeniable skill and ethical clarity. This section also emphasizes the theme of trust. Princess Lithora, having experienced both fear and relief, embodies this shift. Her growing trust in Elias acts as a catalyst for the court's changing perception. By the end of Part 4, the story has established a clear trajectory. Human courage and skill have not only healed the princess, but also begun to reshape the social, cultural dynamics of the alien court. The narrative suggests that humans possess a rare combination of traits: bravery, decisiveness, empathy, and moral integrity that compel recognition, even in species conditioned to fear or revere hierarchy. Serves as the climactic resolution of the story, where the consequences of human courage, skill, and moral clarity are fully realized. This section emphasizes the recognition, admiration, symbolic significance of humanity in a culture that had initially feared, misunderstood, or underestimated them. It consolidates the HFY humans fight where there's fear themes established in earlier parts. Humans act decisively, defy superstition, and earn respect, not through dominance or ritual, but through competence, courage, and moral integrity. By the beginning of Part 5, the immediate crisis, the princess's wound, has been resolved. Elias has applied his medical skills with precision, and Princess Lithora is now resting comfortably. However, the story shifts focus from the act of healing to the social and emotional aftermath. The palace, once filled with tension and fear, is now marked by awe and reconsideration. Every observer, courtiers, advisors, medics, and guards is confronted with a reality they had not anticipated: a human, considered physically fragile and culturally insignificant, has accomplished what their own species could not. This reversal of expectations is central to HFY storytelling, emphasizing humanity's ability to challenge assumptions and redefine the perceptions of more advanced or cautious civilizations. Princess Lithora plays a pivotal role in consolidating this respect. Having experienced both the pain of her injury and the calm skill of Elias's treatment, she develops trust and admiration for the human medic. Her reaction is subtle but profound. She reaches out, acknowledges his skill, and communicates gratitude in a gesture that transcends cultural norms. This human ability to inspire confidence and trust even in beings vastly different in physiology and culture is a hallmark of HFY narratives. It highlights that human courage is not merely physical or technical. It is relational, capable of creating bonds that surpass fear, superstition, and hierarchical barriers. The Queen's acknowledgement represents a broader shift in societal perception. Initially skeptical and bound by centuries of tradition, she has observed Elias's competence and courage firsthand. Her statement recognizing that the human has earned a place of honor and respect serves as formal validation of humanity's exceptional qualities. In narrative terms, the Queen functions as both authority and symbol. Her recognition is significant because it illustrates that human action can transcend the rigid structures of other civilizations, compelling respect even from the most powerful and tradition-bound individuals. This moment emphasizes a recurring Phi theme. Human courage and skill have transformative effects on those around them, challenging long-standing assumptions about capability and hierarchy. The story also explores the social consequences of Elias's actions on the alien court. Observers who initially hesitated or doubted his abilities begin to reconsider their own cultural norms. Medics who feared touching the princess now see that fear can be overcome by skill, decisiveness, and moral clarity. Advisors and guards realize that hierarchy and superstition do not define competence or honor. Action, judgment, and courage do. This shift illustrates a key HFY principle. Human influence extends beyond immediate physical effects to reshape the perspectives and behaviors of others. The narrative uses this to reinforce the idea that humanity's impact in the galaxy is not limited to combat or technology. It is their moral courage, decisiveness, and adaptability that leave lasting impressions. Elias's behavior remains consistent, understated, and humble. He does not seek glory or recognition. He leaves the court with quiet dignity. This humility is significant because it reinforces the human ideal that true courage does not need external validation. Yet the aliens, reaction ranging from astonishment to admiration, underscores the contrast between human integrity and alien obsession with ceremony, rank, and ritual. Through this juxtaposition, Part 5 emphasizes that human respect and influence are earned through actions, not adherence to imposed customs. Further cementing the HFY theme, the conclusion of Part 5 also serves to cement humanity's symbolic role. Elias's actions have demonstrated that humans are capable of stepping forward when others freeze, taking risks others avoid, and acting decisively under extreme pressure. The princess's trust, the court's admiration, and the Queen's formal acknowledgement all work together to establish humans as a species that inspires awe, challenges assumptions, and redefines the standards of courage and competence. The story leaves the reader with a clear takeaway. Human potential is both practical and moral, extending influence through bravery, skill, and empathy rather than brute strength or technological superiority.